Hello everyone. In my previous video lecture, I elaborated minutely the text of the poem Palki Bearer, which has been written by Sarojini Naidu, one of the greatest Indian poetess. Let me tell you today the central idea of this particular poem, and it is very important to see what the poetess has to say or convey through the medium of this particular poem. The palki bearers are, we find in the very first stanza of the poem that the palki bearers are carrying a royal bride in a palki. They are singing a song while moving forward and forward. Their song is related to the situation of the bride. They say that they are bearing the bride lightly. They are carrying her forward very lightly and gently, and the bride is swaying like a flower in the wind. She is gliding like a bird on the foam of a stream, and she is floating quietly like a laugh from the lips of a dream. And the palki bearers are singing and carrying her happily. They are carrying her like a pearl on a string. They are moving gently and cheerfully. She is hanging like a star in the dew of their song, and she rises like a ray of light seen on the top of a tide. She falls like a tear from the eyes of bride. So far, we can see here Sarojini Naidu has extensively made use of various images and figure of speech. Uh, if we see the technical side of this poem, we will understand that part and we will see it further. Before going into deep of this poem, let me tell you the background of Indian tradition. In ancient days, the royal brides in India were carried in decorative palkis. The men who were carried them were called palki bearers. The palki bearers considered it an honor to carry the bride. Palki bearers means this particular poem, Palki Bearers, is a musical poem. The vivid and clear description of the journey makes us experience the soft and gentle swaying movements of the palki. The palki bearers carry the palki gently. The swaying movements of the palki are compared to a flower moving in the wind. The palki bearers carry the bride so softly and delicately as if she were something, very delicate, soft, and fragile. They carry her like a pearl on a string. We find that Sarojini Naidu has used similes here. She has compared her movement with various things. She has also compared the bride with the various delicate things. The bearers do not feel the burden and move with quick steps like the birds that fly across the river without touching the water. The palki bearers are aware of the presence of the beautiful bride they are carrying in the palki. That means they are quite familiar that they are carrying someone, and therefore they take precautions that they should not do anything wrong. They should not take wrong steps while walking forward. The poet basically uses two images deliberately to state the contradictory feeling of joy and sadness. As I earlier explained, that in first stanza we find that the bride is so much excited and she is willing to go to her husband's house, but in the subsequent stanza she suddenly becomes unhappy with the thought that she is going away from her own parents' house, and that particular thing gives the bride a kind of pain, and therefore she becomes sad in the second stanza. In the first, the poet says that she floats like a laugh. This conveys the joy and happiness because she is going to her husband. But in the second stanza, the poet compares the bride to a tear falling from the eyes of a bride, which gives touch or highlights the sadness of the bride. So we find here that the poetess has used variety of literary devices. The poem is full of descriptive similes because the bride has been compared to objects known for their beauty, delicacy, worth, and brightness. The variety of similes used gives modesty and beauty to the sweet occasions when the bride is being carried to her husband's house. The poetess has used repetition to give musicality and sweetness to the poem. The rhythm of the poem is even, it is very smooth and swift, and the rhyming pattern is also a very typical one. Now let us go through some of the key points of this poem. In ancient days, the royal brides were carried in, ornate. Ornate means decorative. Decorative carriages. Carriages means they are, palkis. The men who carried the carriages or palkis were happy about their work and believed that they had a distinguished job. They did not feel their job burdensome. That means they did not feel any kind of burden while carrying such kind of brides. They felt, dignified in doing such kind of work. In this poem, we see a bride being carried to the royal palace in a decorated palki. It is, written in such a way that one can see and feel as if the palki is moving. That means all the description made by Sarojini Naidu is lifelike, and we see liveliness there. And the words she has used seem to have a magic touch. We have seen the idea expressed by Sarojini Naidu in the first and the subsequent second stanza. Let's move forward. As I earlier mentioned that Sarojini Naidu has extensively made use of various literary devices. Here you can see simile, which is generally used by the poet in his or her poem. So let's understand what it is. Simile is a figure of speech which is used to compare the qualities of two similar objects or things using words such as like or as. That means whenever you find these words, which ones, like and as, in any sentence, at that time you can consider that somebody or something has been compared with somebody or something else. That means there is a strong possibility that there can be or there must be simile inside that particular sentence. So here you can see we bear her along like a pearl on a string. Here the bride has been compared with a pearl. Pearl means it's a bead, it's a small bead, and it is delicate. So she has been compared with a pearl, with a bead. That means she is very delicate from the point of view of the poetess. Again, she has been compared with tear. Tears which falls from someone's eyes when somebody cries. So it signifies sadness. When the bride becomes sad, at that times tears start falling down from her eyes. She springs like a beam. Beam means, it's a ray of, you know, uh, sun. We can say it's a ray of sun. Again, she has been compared with a star, then flower, and then bird. All these things that we can see here are fragile and delicate, and hence here Sarojini Naidu has given a different touch by comparing her with delicate, objects or things. Let's see further. Then Sarojini Naidu has also, made use of alliteration, which can be clearly seen here. Alliteration means, just understand it, the repetition of speech sounds in a sequence of nearby words. So you will find such a couple of words in the poem. Here she sways, she skims. That means they are producing similar sounds. Just in simple word, the words are beginning with yes sound. Yes, she sways, she skims, gaily glide, beam, bro, and like, laugh, and lips. So by using these words, Sarojini Naidu has given a musical effect to the poem. Refrain, there is another device which has been used by the poetess here, and that is refrain. Refrain is a line. It's basically is a line which is repeatedly used by the poet in any poem in the end of the stanza or at the beginning of any stanza. So which refrain do we find in this particular, poem? In the last line of first stanza and the last line of second stanza have the same line, and these lines can be called as a refrain. So we bear her along like a pearl on a string has been repeated in both of the stanzas. You can see here the list of images used by the poetess here. Skims like a bird, sways like a flower, floats like a laugh, dream, hangs like a star, springs like a beam, falls like a tear, pearl on a string. So these are all the images used by the poetess. Then musical effect adds another feather to the beauty of this poem, and Sarojini Naidu has made use of it very, effectively by introducing the pair of words like gaily or gaily, lightly or lightly, softly or softly, etc. In this way, we have seen the central idea of the poem. I have also elaborated the text in very detail in my previous video lecture, and I hope you might have, understood this poem. And if you face any difficulties, you may communicate me. Okay, thank you.